See, I'm going to turn my ear
We
down.
are live as we speak. Hello, everyone. It is Katrina and Tom.
Hello.
Park Right Here podcast today, Thursday. How is everybody doing?
I'm hot. I was just turning the air conditioning down so I can get the air going a wee bit.
Oh, how's your week been, Mr. Tom?
Interesting. My daughter lives in San Francisco, and I got to say a shout out to my daughter. I'm very proud of her. She now works for Sirius XM, although she can't get me free Sirius XM, so I'm not sure how much I love her anymore. Used to be my favorite, now she's my second favorite. But they're driving down the coastline from San Francisco to my wife's sister's house, who lives in San Diego. And I'm leaving Saturday to go meet them in San Diego. So then we're going to spend 4 or 5 days together and then fly home together.
So you're going to get better weather, I hear.
I hope so. My wife said, why don't you come out to San Francisco? I said, with her. I said, well, that's good. As you guys drive down the coastline, you put me in the car with you and my daughter. It's a whole different conversation. And so I said, I'll just meet you in San Diego, which turns out to be good. That's going to work out well for us.
Oh, that's good.
But it's just been, I'm in that point now. We talk about our Parkinson's journey. I'll be 9 years diagnosed in August. And I'm sort of in this sense of malaise. I just, I've been by myself for 3 days. I've played some pickleball, but I just can't seem to get the motivation to do anything. I just, and it's just frustrating because I sit there, I'm busy all day, but God knows I don't know what the hell I accomplished. Although I saw a lot of YouTube videos, but I don't think that really counts as an accomplishment.
Boy, you sound like me. It's like, oh my goodness, I think I'm going on, what is this, 2024? Oh my goodness, so it'll be 13 years in December. So, and I feel the same way sometimes. It's just, I don't know if maybe it's the weather. It's just when it gets hot, it's just, I go outside, I do my fast walking, and I do my dance inside. I do my yoga and meditation in the morning, and then I do my dance, and then, later in the evening. And I've been doing some blackberry picking because we actually have a lot of blackberry bushes along the railroad tracks and down the creek and stuff. So I got a lot of
wild blackberries. Are they wild?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, cool.
Really wild and really, really good. The much better than what you get in the store.
Yeah.
At least what we can get in the store, because Walmart's we have Food City and Walmart. So
Food City, that sounds like a place I want to go to.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good grocery store. It's much better and much fresher than Walmart. We do have a Food Lion, but I don't like Food Lion, so I don't go there. So. But yeah, the malaise and the apathy. My daughter, she said that's one of her least favorite symptoms that I have is the apathy, because she thinks I'm angry all the time. No, I'm not angry. I'm just, it's, where the apathy, just comes across as like I don't care. She says she feels like I don't.
I think that's the definition of apathy. You don't care.
I know, that's what I tell her, and it's not that I don't care or love her. It's just. It's part of Parkinson's.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, you should tell her that when she went to the seminar with us, she saw like 80 people who just don't care.
That's what she said. She goes, why does everybody have the same look on their face? Why do you all look the same? I said, well, it's called Parkinson's face.
Yeah. I have noticed that I don't think it's Parkinson's face per se, but I don't do it as much as I used to, but I would clench my face. My wife's like, she's like, you just look, and I could feel at times like the soreness in my jaw because I was just clenching my mouth.
They call it mask-like face. That's actually a symptom. That is a very common symptom of Parkinson's. And so,
so that explains why in Halloween I didn't have to wear a mask because I already had a mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's actually, my mom noticed that one like early on, and she said she thought it was on too much drugs. Like too much like anti-anxiety medication or something. She thought it was too drugged up and too out of it. And I said, no, I feel fine. But because I used to be more, emotive and all of that. And now I'm not. Yeah. Now I have to think about it and remember to smile and remember to, actually have to consciously think about it now. So
Yeah.
make a conscious effort to smile, which I won't today because I have a broken tooth.
Good. Everyone from West Virginia has to have, I think it's a law that if you live in West Virginia, you got to have at least one broken tooth.
Yep.
And someone named Billy Bob.
Actually, my cousin would be called Billy Dale.
Billy Dale, there you go.
Billy Dale lives on the other side of the tracks, railroad tracks.
Our neighbor a long time ago, they were from the Carolinas, and her name was Aura Lee. And the first time I met her, I'm like, is that 2 words or is that just 1 word? She goes, it's 2 words, Aura Lee. I said, okay. This my first experience of someone with 2 first names.
Yep. There's many of us here. And so I may not sound like a hillbilly, but I am definitely related to many. And I used to have I have an accent, but I've learned to cover it up. So as a military brat, I got teased so much. So, but yeah, this Parkinson's journey is not a fun one. It affects it not just affects me. It definitely affects my teenage daughter.
Yeah.
It affects my husband. It, causes ups and downs, and the caregivers. Even if I'm like, I think about it. I'm like, well, there's not a lot physically he does for me, but it takes an emotional toll on the caregivers. Because
Sure.
it takes, and I have to think about that as like, you don't physically do much for me, because I'm still pretty independent, thank goodness. But I know eventually it'll get down to, he'll have to do more. And he says, that part's easy. He says the physical part isn't going to be hard. It's the emotional part. And it's when I get those emotional downs and ups.
Yeah. I'm sort of the same way. I mean, physically, I'm completely capable of doing everything. Every now and then, the little tiny buttonholes are just like a pain in the ass because it's like they're just small buttonholes. But someone told me a hack about that, which I've tried doing. Is I button my shirt without my shirt on. I'll like button it up to here, and then I'll just pull over my head, and it only leaves me with like 1 button left to button. Mm-hmm. That's probably the only physical challenges I have is just trying to get those things lined up. And I have more tremors in my left hand. My right hand's pretty straightforward. But it's like I started LSVT too because I noticed that my biggest symptom is rigidity and stiffness. Mm-hmm. If I sit still for probably a half hour or more, I can just start feeling my body getting stiff. And I think where my biggest asset with my wife is she sees things that I don't see. Mm-hmm. I didn't. Because, it's like you look in the mirror every day and it's like you just see the same thing. It's not like denial. It's just like you just don't notice the change, but she notices it, mm-hmm. which is really good because that's kind of a struggle at times. Like I know she means well, but sometimes I just hate somebody telling me I'm doing something wrong.
I know. And I hate the labels. I'm like, okay. Enough labels. Stop labeling me. Because he in the evenings and stuff, I'll get grumpy and he'll call it mean downers.
Oh God.
Oh, the movement disorder specialist I had in Colorado, he loved that one. he says, I'm going to use that one.
Well, one thing I want to say is right now my neck is really stiff. So if you see me doing this a lot, that's just not that I'm like the bobblehead. Actually, call me bobblehead Tom today. That's who I am, bobblehead. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah, the stiffness is the rigidity. I don't tremor usually unless I'm very, very tired or very stressed. I don't tremor. I'm not tremor forward, but the stiffness and the heaviness and the rigidity, for sure. And especially because I have a fusion in my back, and it throws my back off.
Yeah.
One side. It's usually my right side. Is more. It always starts because Parkinson's always starts on one side. That's stage 1, and then you go into stage 2 is when you go both sides.
I think I'm stage 1.3.
Yeah, and then that's what shows your change from stage 1 to stage 2 is from one side to both sides. But the most of your symptoms will always remain on one side dominantly throughout your whole process. So, but then from 2 to 5 will be depending on your walking status. like if you have to use a cane, if you have to use a wheelchair, that's how you progress. So,
Well, in the beginning, I saw a psychiatrist who dealt with Parkinson's patients because I'm more of a logical, mathematical mind of sorts. And I know it's a progressive disease, so I know it starts here, and over the course of time, it goes up on an upward slope. And so that was like in my head, I'm like, if I'm here at 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it's progressive. Where am I going to be in 5, 6, 7, 8? And he said one thing to me that really made a lot of sense. He goes, Tom, when do you see yourself in a wheelchair? And I said, what? He goes, oh, because everyone at some point, everyone going to be in a wheelchair as you age. I said, that's a good point. I don't see myself in a wheelchair. He goes, and then you're just normal in that respect. And that little thing about when you get to see yourself, it made me think of it differently. And I stopped thinking about what's going to happen because you can't control the future. All I can do is to control the present and try to delay the future through exercise and diet and all that other good stuff.
Yep, that's what I've been doing as well on the diet part of it. Finally, it's finally working because I mean, you can see my wires now. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I mean, I can feel them. It's like I can feel the wires in my DBS because I weigh less now than I have in 20 years. So,
oh, that's good.
And it is a relief off my back, that's for sure, off my middle and my middle and back of my shoulders.
I want to lose 20 pounds, and it's interesting because what makes really an impression on me, I was at the grocery store, at one of those bulk stores, and they had like a 20-pound bag of rice. And I'm like, 20 pounds doesn't seem that much. And then I pick up the bag of rice. I'm like, shit, 20 pounds weighs a lot. 20 pounds is heavy.
Yep. I was pushing at my heaviest back at least 10 years ago. I was pushing 260 almost 270.
That's big.
I look at some of those pictures. I'm like, is that me?
Twins. We're twins.
I'm like, whoa. I was like, yeah, I was really, really big. But that was at the beginning of, my diagnosis, and I got in that deep depression and it was like, eating everything in sight, not moving, and just, that's, I guess, I don't know if everybody starts that way. I mean, depression, anxiety, of course, are the top two non-motor symptoms, but that 80 to 90% of all people get at some point in their diagnosis when you have to deal with different things. And like, like you said, I've dealt with a lot in the last couple months, and well, I always deal with something, but yeah, last couple months have been pretty difficult, but, you have to learn to get through it the best way whatever way that is best for you. For me, it's my faith and friends and family. And, I have some really good friends and a really good family support system. And so I just, really good friends like you.
Oh.
You're stuck with me, poor thing.
Yes.
But it's like, that's what everyone has to find on your Parkinson's journey. You have to be able to reach out to people and because you can't do it on your own, because I think that's what I remember back during the pandemic, a lot of people were scared when they got their diagnosis because the lockdown, on the lockdown, they couldn't go to the doctor, they had to do everything online, and they didn't have that, support groups and, the people and, to lean on if they didn't have if they weren't married or with a partner or something. And I just couldn't even imagine, because, walking this road is I think it's impossible alone, but that's my opinion. But
well, interesting. There's I'm going to mispronounce her name, but Dr. Lori Mischief. I'll look it up to make sure. But she was doing studies on Parkinson's, and she looks at it from a different perspective. But it's like, what do people with Parkinson's, the ones who are doing better than others, what do they do in common? What are the ones who are doing worse? What do they do that's different? But one of the things she said is, if you live by yourself and you're lonely, that's as bad as exercising every day is good, to put it on an extreme. I mean, that's probably the people who are off the chart as far as being worse off for their given period of time tend to be those who live by themselves or financial difficulties. I think it's the additional stresses that those things put on you. And I can't imagine living by myself with Parkinson's.
I remember, I mean, just was it last week when my husband and my daughter were gone. They went to my mom's house because they weren't there with me when I was there a couple months ago. So they wanted to go see my mom because now my mom is on hospice. So they wanted to spend some time with her, and they also took my sister to Busch Gardens and had some fun. And
oh, cool.
And you have to, we can't, we can only spend time with the people we love as long as we can, and when they're sick, and so they, and having them gone, I mean, I knew I was okay and I could do everything, I could, take care of myself. And I have my son, he only lives less than 10 minutes from me. And I have my second cousin who lives on the other side of the railroad track from me, which is not even 100 yards. So if I needed anything, I knew, he took my trash to I'm so rural. We don't have, trash pickup. We have to actually take our trash to the it's called the transfer station. It's where they do.
How far is that away?
Oh, about 20-minute drive. You have to
actually
put it in the car. Well, we put it in the pickup truck and take it to the next town over. So
I'm going to buy a truck and go down there and get a job. I'll haul your trash for $5.
He does it for free. Thank goodness he does it with his. So,
yeah.
So I'm very blessed. And so, so I knew I had people, there, but it's just the loneliness and the, it was hard for just, it was a week. So, but
yeah,
I just kept myself busy and I deep cleaned the house. That was my.
yeah. Well, I was taking passage of time by my laundry. So I did it Tuesday, kind of forgot about it. Dried it Wednesday, put it in the basket Wednesday. Been sitting in my room now for like 48 hours, it seems. And just before this, at least I got them sorted into where I put things in the drawers. Nothing has been a 48-hour process, and that's how I'm marking my time. But after this meeting, I swear I'll put my laundry away.
I did all the laundry. I did all of ours, and I even did my daughter's. Usually my daughter does hers, but I said, what the heck? I ain't got nothing better to do. So, and I had some Walmart delivered. They'll actually come over the bridge in the creek, over the creek.
So when you say come over the bridge, what kind of bridge is it?
It's a little wooden bridge, literally. Well, but my uncle was an engineer. He's retired now, but he steel reinforced it underneath. So it's not even, it's white. Bucket trucks have gotten over it though. Those electrical trucks from the town.
Bucket truck, yeah.
Yeah, bucket truck. They can get over it. That's about as wide as a bucket truck. So
I'm going to generalize again. You're in West Virginia when your second cousin lives across the tracks. You got a wood bridge connecting you to the rest of the world.
And then the creek is 50 feet about 50 feet in front of my house. The railroad tracks right 50 feet to the back, and then behind us is the holler that goes up to the old house where my mom was raised.
I can't stop thinking the Beverly Hillbillies. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Katrina, a poor mountaineer, barely keep her family feeding.
Maybe we'll find oil one day.
Well,
where the old church used to be.
I kind of made changes. Remember Petticoat Junction?
Oh, yeah.
Now my thing is, there's Uncle Tom. He's a moving kind of slow in the ocean view. And I'm just like, because I'm moving kind of slow. But I'm still trying to deal with all this crap with a wee bit of humor.
Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
Yep. Petticoat Junction. Yeah, wasn't that big tower, water tower?
Yeah.
Yep. I love the old shows. I miss them. But yeah, it was actually on the property where our house is. It was built in 2008, I believe, when my grandmother was 80. And she finally decided to move off of the house from the holler.
From the holler. What's a holler?
Holler is a road up the side of a mountain. I guess they named it that because people would usually holler down the holler.
Hey, is it safe to come up?
Yep.
Like that.
And my great grandmother lived down here at the bottom, right in front of the railroad tracks. And but our branch is not used anymore because there's broken tracks up farther up.
Where we grew up, with something similar, but we call it a hill and a street.
I am in the Appalachia part. I am in the Appalachians, but yeah, my great grandmother lived down here, and she passed away in '89. And I kid you not, she still to the day she died did not have indoor plumbing in her house.
Oh my God!
She had an outhouse and had a pecan under her bed.
There was one of those undercover bosses episodes where the boss was riding with a lady who did, I think she did like extermination or something, but she was complaining because she's always so busy, and when she doesn't even have time to go to the bathroom, so she has her pecan. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, "You mean like nuts?" No, she goes, "A pecan. I pee in the can. It's a pecan."
That's why I always call it pecan. I always say I like pecan pie because pecan in my head is something else.
Okay,
I'm always thinking of Mama Wingo.
I was distracted. My squirrel thing. I got to turn my phone upside down. I saw one of the things pop up on it.
Yep. I always put mine on do not disturb and turn it upside down.
We were actually talking about that the other day. I mean, here we go. We're going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but did you know, it's like, especially when I was working, I'd be talking to you on the phone and I'd get an incoming call. I'm like, "Oh God, hey, I'm sorry, Katrina, I got to go. I got a call coming in." It's in essence, I'm saying, you're not important. Whoever this person is, which I don't know what he wants to talk about, is more important than you, because I have to hang up on you to take this call. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that's always bugged me about, because we've gone to a society where everyone has a cell phone nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just sometimes I just ignore them.
But I learned this thing on my cell phone the other day. It was really, let me see if I can show it to you. It's an app that I didn't realize was there. I don't know if you can see it, but in the bottom right, there's like something that looks like a telephone. Mm-hmm. And I was told that if you actually push that button, you can call somebody and have a conversation. And I was just shocked because I didn't know that actually existed.
My daughter doesn't know what that means either. She doesn't know what that little green thing is. She only knows the text thing.
What I like, though, is the talk to text feature when I'll do that, because I don't type much anymore. First of all, I can't understand how anybody types on a cell phone. But then when you have slight Parkinson's, I keep misspelling. I spend more time probably auto-correcting myself. This means this is my auto than I do actually. I mean, it's like, for God's sake, if I just want to do a paragraph, it takes me 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I am the same. Oh, I use talk to text and that, but I do have to try to autocorrect when I try to, go back and make sure words don't look funny, but they're not that bad. Oh, well, they'll figure it out.
I can't send a text out unless I double check it to make sure the capitalization is right, the grammar is right, I got the right, comma in the right place, or it's just kind of, I just sometimes wish I could just text and say, I like those signatures, to please excuse the typo I'm doing, I have Parkinson's or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If I'm sending emails and stuff, I have Grammarly on my laptop. Oh,
you do? Okay. Oh, excuse me. How many people with Parkinson's sleeps through the night? Because I'm not one of them.
Nope, me neither. I think it was like 4:00 when I finally went to sleep. So, and I slept till about 9, but I'll take a nap later.
Yeah, I think let's see. Right now it's about 2:30. I think I'll take a nap in about 5 minutes, if you don't mind.
Not a problem. We can wrap it up early today. That's not. But yeah, one thing I did hear, one thing about Parkinson's that I've noted that I've heard from a lot of people is like women and have a harder, and younger people have a harder time getting diagnosed. I know with me it took. I think I saw about 6 neurologists in Pennsylvania, and then I saw 3 in Virginia until I saw the head of neurology at the Army base we were at, until I finally got diagnosed by just him saying, "I think you have Parkinson's." I'm not. He says I'm 9. I said I'm about 90% sure, only because of your arm swing,
Yeah.
off, and your gait. I was like, my feet were a little too close together. And he said, I really can't think of a better way to diagnose you than here's some Cinemet. He goes, if
Well,
this,
see, I was just thinking about that's what's so frustrating with this diagnosis is when they first think you have Parkinson's, they give you like an X-ray, a CAT scan, an MRI. You see a physical therapist, maybe an occupational therapist. You see a neurologist, maybe a psychiatrist, your primary care physician. At the end of the day, they give you this little tablet that costs 10 cents, and they say, take this, and if your symptoms start to get better, you have Parkinson's.
yep, that's about it.
I mean, I wish the MRI, CAT scan, DAT scan, and all those other things only cost a dime.
Yep, because my MRI is normal. I mean, it's like, my, but the DAT scan is not. My DAT scan is not normal at all. But
I didn't do a DAT scan because my insurance company initially wasn't going to cover it, but my neurologist basically said, no, you don't need a DAT scan. You have Parkinson's, and guess what? He was right.
Well, it was weird because I actually had been diagnosed with Parkinson's and been on Cinemet for like 2-3 years, and then I moved to Colorado, and then the neurologist, another one I didn't like, said, well, you're so young. I don't think you have Parkinson's. And I'm like, I've been on Cinemet for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it works. And, because I didn't look like I had Parkinson's because the medicine worked.
Yeah.
And so she said, you need a DAT scan. And of course, being active duty military, I mean, it was completely paid for, but.
Oh, that's good.
And, but it's an expensive, I mean, I'm very claustrophobic, so I had to do like a test run and stuff to make sure that I could get through it. But it wasn't like an MRI. I hate MRIs.
As stupid as it may sound, what is the actual process of having a DAT scan?
A DAT scan, they give you an IV medication through the IV, and you wait about 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
And before it goes through your body. And then it almost looks like a television, like one of the smaller TVs, and it actually goes all the way. It goes really close, like only inches from your face, and it goes from one side of your head all the way around your brain, all the way around your head, and what it measures is the anatomy and the physiology of your brain.
Okay. Does it goes around once?
Yeah, it just goes around once, and and they take the and they overlay it in the anatomy of your brain, and then they overlay the physiology part of the dopamine, what the dopamine's doing in your brain, and show you. And because I ended up getting another neurologist who was he actually came out of retirement to only see Parkinson's patients. He was amazing.
Cool.
Dr. Graybert, one doctor I'm trying to get for the podcast. And Dr. Graybert actually in detail described it. The other doctor only said, "Oh, you have less dopamine firing off on the left side of your brain." I said, I could have told you that because all my symptoms are on the right side of my body. And so she goes, I guess you got Parkinson's. I'm like, okay, thank you. And so that's why I dumped her and found Dr. Graybert, and he in detail explained that your the part of your brain that what is that, the negra something, something negra,
negra,
and they're supposed to look like little commas, like round, and then have little tails on them, and neither one of mine, the right side or the left side, had tails. And he goes, that's kind of strange. He said, from the DAT scan, I should be farther along than I was.
Oh, wow.
So he said, because he always told me that, I was doing so well he had me on Rytari at that time because of the slow digestion. I take Rytari much better.
You have TRICARE now?
Yeah, I've TRICARE standard.
How much does Rytari cost you through TRICARE? Oh, that's great. So we were talking the other day. I was talking to somebody the other day who was thinking of going on Rytari, but they said that the insurance company won't cover it because it's so expensive. Yeah, and I just went to GoodRx, and I'm not sure what the doses are, but for 270 tablets, it was like $1,200, and that was like with the Good RX discount.
And that's, I know somebody's insurance, it was like it's like a $300 copay. And that's
And this is a cheat or a hack, and by all means, I'm not a doctor, and I think, but if you are faced with the point that you want to take Ritari, but you can't
afford it.
you afford it, Ritari is basically, it's a delayed entry, right? You got the capsule, and within the capsule, there's other little tiny beads of dopamine that have various thicknesses. So
yeah, and it's long acting instead of the short acting.
But so I was taking 6 tablets or 6 carbidopa levodopas a day. I was taking one and a half every 4 hours. And I started having my off time. You know, it was now, as I got progressed more, the off times, the medicine wears off a little sooner. But I was talking to my doctor about maybe switching to Ritari, and then I saw the cost of it. So we've kind of done our own Ritari sort of thing. And I take it every 3 hours. I take one tablet. I'm still taking the same number or same 600 milligrams a day, but now I'm taking it every 3 hours versus every 4 hours. And here I put this over here 1 second. He was saying to me, "Don't you think it's gonna be difficult to manage that?" I said, "Well, no, not necessarily. On my phone, on my watch, I put on an alarm. So every 3 hours, and I just carry this with me all the time. This is a pack of 6. So I once every couple of weeks, I lay out my 14 of these, and I start going, Ritari. I'm sorry, carbidopa, and then go to the next one, boom. And I just lay them out. I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And I stock myself up for about 2.5 weeks.
Well, you can also, there is a program through every pharmaceutical company has a program to help people pay for their medication if you have trouble paying for it. Every company, and I can say that because I was a mental health nurse for a couple of years, for about 4 years. And we had indigent clients and clients who didn't have insurance. And there's different requirements for different pharmaceutical companies. It could be as easy as just having your prescription and filling out a form, as to having to send your a copy of your tax form from the previous year or whatever. So it depends on the pharmaceutical company. They stop. I think most pharmaceutical companies stopped asking for tax forms because it's hard to do that when you have indigent clients, homeless people, and stuff, to get tax forms. Because I'd be on the phone fighting. I'm like, come on, people.
It was interesting because I qualify for Social Security disability. I went on Medicare after a certain period of time, and I have a Medicare Advantage program. And I'm a little over 65 now, so I had like the one last chance to switch to Medicaid or Medicare if I wish. And I went down the list with them, and I'm not advocating Medicare Advantage. I'm just saying look at both, because right now my Medicare Advantage, it's $175 a month. That's the Part B, and they get a give back of $80. So I'm roughly paying $90 a month for my Medicare Advantage. Every month they give me a $50 debit to like a credit card, and I can use that for certain expenses, which turns out you can use it for your cell phone. So every year I get like $600. First of all, they're charging me $90 a month. They're giving me $50, so that's $40 a month. I get a free doctor's visit for my eyes. I get a $300 credit towards my glasses. They give me like $4,000 towards dental work. So there's no at the end of the day, they're like paying me to have this insurance. But this particular program is through Humana with people that were in the military. It's an honors program. But because it's military, they don't offer the prescriptions, because most people in the military go to the VA. They get their prescriptions. Yeah. I don't financially qualify for the VA, but I do online pharmacy. And right now, this program is going away in March, but I'm paying like $550 a year for all my medication. And when that goes away, I'll be paying roughly $800 a year for all my medication. Wow. And just by looking at the numbers of going to Medicare, by the time I do my Part B and my supplement and the prescription plan and the dental plan and and the eyeglasses plan, it's thousands of dollars a year. It's hugely expensive.
Oh, that's why I always feel a little guilty, because I was a military dependent for so long. Between my dad and and then my ex-husband and my current husband, and I think I ended up counting at one time it was like 36 or 37 years out of my 55.
Well, in a sense, military dependents, wives or spouses are like care
or
partners.
children.
Yeah, you're like a care partner to your husband when he's in the military. You're a care
Mm-hmm.
partner. So you deserve being part of that. Because
When he
first of all,
deploys,
I can't understand how anybody in the military that's enlisted can even afford to be married because the Army pays what they ask of you, they pay so little at the.
yeah, that's true. Especially enlisted. It just, he was in E7 when he retired. So, but it's just even was having children, and I don't know what it's like now, because everything's so much more expensive than it was when we retired in 21. But it's just, it always was. And I don't know how my mom did it way back in the day before. I don't know how she moved a family with 3 kids to Germany with a car and without the internet. I don't know how.
Yeah. I remember I joined the Army in 1977 and I was living in Chicago, and I went to basic training. Well, we called it OSET at the time, 1 unit station training, where I went to basic and I did my advanced training together. So I get my little vacation time. I go home and I'm reporting to Fort Hood, Texas, which is dead center Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm living in Chicago. So this was the day before MapQuest or Google Maps. So I left Chicago. I went south on 66 to St. Louis. I made a right, took 35 over to Oklahoma, made a left, I think maybe that was 70 in Oklahoma.
Did you have an atlas in your car?
No, I just had a general map, but it was just funny. I said, go 1 interstate, make a right, take that interstate to Oklahoma, make a left, go into the Panhandle, and 8 hours later, you're at Fort Hood, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like
I remember Brad McNally's atlas. We always had it in the car.
Oh yeah. Nowadays, like, hey, I'm going to Walmart. I'm going to Google Map it because I don't know how to get there.
Yep. I know that feeling. I'm not my daughter Google Maps how to get everywhere. Well, yep. Or Siri. My husband will Siri everywhere. Even now, I'm like.
Sometimes I do it just to get. I don't do it because I don't know how to go where I'm going. I just do it in sense to see what their projected time is.
Yeah, to see. Oh, how long is it going to take me to get there? Yep.
In another world, I'd like to be an efficiency expert because I get to where if Google Maps says it's going to take 24 minutes to get there, I find that no matter how aggressive I drive, how defensive I drive, it doesn't matter. I get there plus or minus 1 minute, to what they said. And I know if I'm trying to aggressive drive because I really want to get there, I start thinking myself. I do the math in my head. If it's 10 miles away and I'm driving, 60 miles an hour, let's say, I'm going to get there in 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. If I can drive 120 miles an hour, I'm going to get there in 5 minutes. Is it really worth doubling my speed to get there 5 minutes early?
Right. And then, sometimes I'll do it for traffic, see if there's any, especially on 81. Because I have to, and because 81 is, I hate 81. I'd rather drive I-95 through DC.
My biggest pet peeve with people and any kind of Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever, is like, why is it taking me this way? Because it computes the fastest way to get there. And if it's 30 seconds faster to go this way versus that way, it's going to tell you to go this way. Mm-hmm. Stop asking why is it going to take you this way.
Yeah, sometimes I'll take the except for 81 because there's so much truck traffic, semi trucks, and my husband is notorious for his road rage.
Oh God!
So we'll take an extra if we have the time, especially when we go to Charlottesville, because I go to Charlottesville every 3 months, and for Botox, I'm going to have the youngest looking feet and legs and shoulder.
Oh God!
And neck. of anybody, because I get Botox every 3 months.
I was thinking getting Botox in my nose so I can get even bigger. This is nose profile, folks. 26% Italian. It's right here.
Oh no, I'm British and Irish, about almost 80% British and Irish. I'm as European as European can be. I'm 99.9% European.
So I got to tell you this. Now that we're going off on another tangent. Because there's humor in Parkinson's, and that's what I like. So my grandmother was an O'Shaughnessy, and my mom took us to Ireland, and because of course O'Shaughnessy's are from Ireland, and she took us to St. Mary's Church because there's 12,000 St. Mary's churches in Ireland, and she wanted to look at some of the gravestones from our ancestors. And as we're walking around, I see a gravestone that said Timothy O'Shaughnessy. Date of death or date of birth was this date. Date of death was April 16th, 1959. I called my mom over. I said, Mom, look at this. And she goes, what am I looking at? I said, Mom, April 16th, 59. That's the day I was born. So I said, here's, and now this, because I love to do this stuff. I said, Mom, I don't know why, but when we got off the bus, I felt compelled to come to this grave marker. I started walking around, but every time I walked in a different direction, something just kind of pulled me back to this grave marker. I said, so what my thought is he died and he was going to heaven and I was coming down. Somehow our souls must have touched. And that's why I was drawn to this. And she just looks at me and goes, shut up. And, I get my sense of humor from my mom. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was one of the funniest things she ever said, a simple word, shut up.
Yeah, that's my mom. She, like she said, when the doctors told us like years ago that we'd be lucky when they, she had end-stage COPD and there was nothing more they could do for her. And
excuse me.
We'd be lucky to have her for a year. And of course, that was about almost 10 years ago. So I always tell my mom, I said, Mom, you'll be around for a while. Only the good die young. And she goes, I know, Katrina, we'll be around for a while.
Well, I tell my mom she's never going to die. My mom's, I like to say she's wicked smart.
Mm-hmm. And my mom too.
And she's very religious and she reads and she questions everything, which is good. And it's not good when you're in a Catholic school because the nuns don't want you questioning. That's why they call it dogma. Dogma is not Latin for question. It's Latin for just accept it and shut up. Mm-hmm. But I told her once that you're never going to die. She goes, what do you mean by that? I said, well, because you question everything and God's only been in existence for infinity and he's not ready yet for that fight. So he knows the day you get up to the pearly gates, they're going to say, oh my God, it's her. And the verbal fight is going to begin and they're not ready for you, Mom. So that's why you're never going to die. She's 91 and she is the oldest living person ever in her family. No one's ever lived beyond 91.
Wow. And then it's like my mom, or I'll say, Mom, you're driving me crazy. And she goes, it's an awful short drive too, ain't it, Trina?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was talking to her because my mom's a planner and she's got her whole funeral planned out. Everything's planned out because she doesn't want to burden us. The Mom, burden us. That's what we're here for. But she said, I underestimated what I needed for my funeral expense. So I want to put some money aside for it. Can you recommend a long-term investment that I can get some interest on? And I said, Mom, I don't know how to say this to you, so I'm just going to say it. You're a short-term investor. He said, so you're a very short-term investor. She's like, huh? I said, you're going to need that money in the short term. And she goes, you can say it. I said, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to call you a short-term investor. And I did convince her just to put the money in a savings. My older brother lives not too far from her, and he's like, we agree for the most part that he's a secondary on all her accounts. So if anything should happen,
my sister.
We don't have to go through all that crap. My brother can just walk in to the bank because he's on the bank. It has a code, whatever.
Yeah, my sister too. I gave it. She wanted. Yeah, she always put me on everything. I was the executor and all that. And I said, Mom, please, please put Christy on everything. I don't want it. That's too much for me. And I said, Christy's had investments and IRAs and all that stuff. And I've never bought or sold a home because, like I said, I was military and never had to worry about it. And I said, and Christy's bought and sold numerous homes. And I said, please. So yeah, they changed the will and did all that. And before my dad passed. And so, they took care of all that. And Christy's now in charge of that. She's the middle child.
I'm trying to think. I sold a home in Baltimore, a home in a place called Catonsville, and a home in Ellicott City, and a home in Delaware. So I'm on my fifth home.
Yeah, even this home that my grandmother left for me, that my mom bought my brother or my uncle's share of it, and now it's now it's for me. So I didn't even have to worry about that. So that's my forever home.
Yeah.
So
Well, someone was talking about when we sold our house in Maryland, they were like, I overheard them saying, this is going to be our forever home. And I'm thinking, this is not your forever home. This is a home you buy and pay high taxes because the school systems are so good. This is a home till your kids get through high school. And then you sell the home and hopefully have the equity to help pay for their college. And then you live somewhere else. And then after you've paid their college, now you sell that home so you can get the retirement home that you want. And then you're going to live there for a while. And then you're going to get older and you're going to go into like an assisted living facility. That is your forever home.
now I'm hoping this will be my forever home.
Yeah.
I hope, because the VA will, you get assistance and all that. You get, long term, you can have home health aides and all that stuff. And so I found that out, doing all that work for my dad. Still going through all that for my mom now, survivor's benefits and all that. And, it's a headache, but, the VA is really, if anybody was exposed to Agent Orange and has not applied, I would definitely apply. It is definitely worth it.
I have a pending action against the VA because when I was in Fort McClellan, Alabama in the summer of 77, they produced Agent Orange during the 70s for the Vietnam War. Now, I don't necessarily not sure if there's a connection because my system started when I was 56. And even if you had Parkinson's for 10 years, people say that would be 46. And that was 18, 46. That's like 26 years ago. I was at Fort McClellan. So
if you were even had a chance of exposure, definitely go for it.
I did. So after 5 years, they said that, this is so funny. They conceded the fact that I was in the military. They conceded the fact that I was at Fort McClellan. They conceded the fact that I had Parkinson's, and they conceded the fact that as a result, I suffered from depression. And I'm like, this is the government in action. 5 years later, they've conceded what I just told them 5 years ago. I gave him my DD-214. I gave him my doctor's note, if you will. And so I thought this was so simple. You got to prove that you're at that place. Yes, I was there. You got to prove that you're Parkinson's.
Is it easier now that they did the PACT Act?
Well, the PACT Act doesn't cover this particular. Fort McClellan is not included under the PACT Act at this point.
Oh, okay.
They haven't come up with, I guess, the word presumption of a connection. But I think I've gone through my appeals because every time they make a decision, like there's something like they failed to do their due diligence or whatever that term was. So now I recently, about in the last 3 months, I had to see a psychiatrist, a VA psychiatrist, and a VA doctor, which was funny because when I saw the VA doctor, I'm talking to him because I Google everything. If I'm going to meet a doctor or anybody, I want to know who I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. And he's a general practitioner. And so I kind of politely, when we got there, said, so tell me, what do you know about Parkinson's? Are you a neurologist? He goes, no, I'm just a basic intern. I'm a general doctor. I do. And I said, well, tell me what you know about Parkinson's. And he goes, I really don't know much. I said, well, let me tell you what Parkinson's is. I'll give you a quick overview. And what I found interesting is, I don't know why they sent me to a general practitioner, because he said, well, basically it's a checklist. We're going to ask you these questions. I'm like, well, you can just do that over the phone, for God's sake. But I find that interesting that the neurologist or the psychiatrist was really good. She really delved into issues and such, as a result. But like, why did I drive an hour to spend 45 minutes and all you're doing is asking me generic questions? And you have no idea. I had to teach you what Parkinson's was.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of time, it's like, I beat it till, my daughter is such, being your own best advocate. It's like, you have to be, yeah. And if it's for your loved one, you have to be, your loved one's best advocate, because I had to do it for my dad. It's because doctors don't know everything. And it was a little hospitalist, and overrode a neurosurgeon. And it didn't go over well for the hospitalist, I must say, because he discharged him and he shouldn't have. And so discharged him to a nursing home for, what do you call it? what do they call that? I can't even remember right now, but he went back to the hospital the very next day, and he did not. Usually when you're admitted to the hospital now, you have a hospitalist in charge, and it's supposed to be in charge over the whole disciplinary team.
Bingo, what you're just saying. That's I find that it's very frustrating, and one of the things I'm starting to get interested in now is the holistic approach to Parkinson's. I mean, I look at it as oops, Charlie horse, shit, that hurt. I just bet I have a movement disorder specialist. I have a primary care doctor. I have a physical therapist. I occasionally have a psychiatrist. You know, I have a dentist. I have an eye doctor, but none of these people communicate to each other. Yep. And I'm just shocked that there isn't some kind of generic portal where everyone can just come in and see everything. And I'm thinking of, just as you said, the whole care team, the disciplinary. And it's like that doesn't. Every time I see a doctor, like I had back surgery, I had to teach the doctor about Parkinson's. I had to teach the neurologist the anesthesiologist about Parkinson's. The floor nurse, I had to tell him about Parkinson's, why it's so important that I get my meds at a specific time. I find that to be, for someone, and we're advocates for ourselves, yet I find that very frustrating, because I know you see your group of people, I see my group of people. And so I like the idea of trying to work and trying to find more information about this holistic approach. So when someone's initially diagnosed, you can almost give them that checklist of who you need to see. And more importantly, emphasize the fact that you need to make sure that your primary care is communicating somehow with your neurologist.
Right. It's really hard for me because my primary, but I have a wonderful primary care doctor. I lucked out big time because of where I am. But he's a younger doctor. He's the young Dr. McVeigh.
Doogie Howser.
Yep. He's a little older than Doogie.
A little older than Doogie.
Because his father and grandfather were also, doctors back here. And he came in at the same clinic. Like my grandparents went to the grandfather, and my uncle went to his father, and so he's very good. And he actually knew about ambrosia, which most regular GPs don't know about.
Yeah.
And so he's very knowledgeable, and he'll by email he'll get in contact with my my MDS, my movement disorder specialist. But if I have to have any other specialist, I usually will go to UVA, and I'll keep it all in the UVA system so they can communicate over my chart. So pain management I have, and psychiatry and neurology is all.
Sorry,
UVA.
I don't mean to laugh, but when I went to a pain therapist or pain management doctor for the first time, he's like, "What do you want to accomplish?" I'm like, "Duh." I want to know where the pain's coming. I want to know where my pain's coming from, because he's kind of like, well, what do you plan on doing once you find out? And it's like, okay, let me spell this out for you. You're the doctor. If you tell me that my pain you think is a result of Parkinson's, then I talk to my neurologist and I see what his thoughts are. Maybe a change in medication, or he may say physical therapy. But if you tell me that it's just related to, it's not Parkinson's related, then I can go direct to goal, and don't whatever that monopoly term, go directly to stop or whatever. I can go right to a physical therapist and have them work on it. But for me to understand, like when we were kids, we had Dr. Fitzgerald. He buried your parents and he brought you into the world. He did everything in between. He did surgery. You had one doctor who did everything. And now you have specialists. Like when I had my second back surgery, I thought I needed a third because I was still in a tremendous amount of pain. I had two neurologists look at the x-ray and only see my spine. And finally two back surgeons. And finally a third back surgeon saw that I needed a hip replacement. And it was like, I asked them, it was simple. How is it that you looked 3 inches to the left on my x-ray and saw that I had no cartilage on my hip, and two other specialists didn't do that? And he couldn't really, he didn't give me an answer per se, because I don't think he really wanted to. But to me, it's like the expression,
the other two screwed up.
You can't see the forest through the trees. They're so focused on the tree, they don't see the forest. And that's part of the whole problem I think we have in Americans' medical system, is that everyone's a specialist.
That's why I honestly like nurse practitioners,
Yeah.
because in nursing you're trained to look holistically
Yep.
at a patient, and
Well,
so I
yeah.
mean that's what I wanted to do to be. I was actually in school when I got started having Parkinson's symptoms, and it was the year my grandmother died as well. And I guess that they've actually had done studies to show that you sometimes a traumatic event like death of a loved one will trigger your motor symptoms.
Oh,
But
I can attest to that
yep,
because
oh, you too. And so,
August 17th, 2015 is my brother passed away from cancer. That
mhm.
day, my tremor started.
And I think it was let's see, she passed away in July or August, and I actually started school, and so it was probably a couple months later. I think about 2 months after she passed, it started. So, and that's pretty. I guess it's more common than I thought. So, the brain is a funny thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we reached that 1 hour mark, and I
yep,
know we both have things we have to get done this afternoon.
yes, my
So
dear.
we're going to say thank you for listening to us. Hopefully, something we said made sense to you. Maybe something we said will help you go in the right direction or a
Or
different
made
direction.
you laugh.
That's my job. I try to make. I'm trying. She's a straight person. I'm the funny one. No,
Yep.
I'm the color commentary. So, but at the end of the day, if you're laughing, you're not in pain to a certain
Yep.
extent. You're not having Parkinson's. If we can take you out of that environment for a few minutes, and like I tell people, I'm a lightning rod for stupidity. If I can, or I say I have, when it comes to family and friends, I have no shame. There's nothing I won't do for family or friends, even if that means making myself look like an idiot, which I have plenty of experience at doing that. Well,
Well,
next week
everyone,
I'll be away next week, and so Katrina, you're gonna have to be stuck with Katrina for an hour. So,
and I don't know who it'll be with. So,
but I can
because
tell
I
you
don't
there'll
want
be
to have
less.
the big. I want Tom to be there with the big wigs. So, so I
But I
don't know.
can tell you there'll be less tangents if it's just her. So she's more focused than a squirrel. I'll leave you with that.
Well, have a great week, everyone, and we
We'll
will
see
see
you
you
later.
next week. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye. And stream. There we go.